Well, it's spooky month, which means I probably need to play a spooky game, which gives me the perfect opportunity to go back to a game I've had on my watch list for well over a year now. And I can use this as an excuse to finally get myself to play Crow Country, a psychological horror mystery game that was developed and published by SFB Games, that released on May 9th, 2024 for Windows, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series consoles, and on October 16th, 2024 for the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. In this game, you play as Mara Forrest, who has come to Crow Country 2 years after the park is closed and its founder, Edward Crow, has disappeared. Mara is searching for Edward Crow and wants to unravel the mysteries of what's going on in the abandoned amusement park and why it's so suddenly closed. Crow Country is stylized and heavily inspired by the early PlayStation 1 era of horror games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and playing it brings back all those nostalgic feelings of that era. It's actually what got me to notice this game in the first place. The blocky proportion characters and designs of everything in this game take great homage to the old early 3D graphics style that generation of games are known for. And SFB Games took this effect to its full advantage with the simple textures, creepy soundtrack, and janky motion for all the monsters you come across. The look and feel of this game perfectly captures the horror feeling of the games that inspired it. Where horror games today are more based on jump scares and terrifying story, Crow Country goes for more of a psychological approach, where the entire vibe of the game is just eerie with monsters constantly trying to attack you. And while most of the time you can just run around the monsters in order to avoid them, sometimes you'll just need to take them on with whatever weapons you can find around the map, like a pistol, shotgun, or even a flamethrower. But like the games that inspired Crow Country, in order to attack them, you'll need to stand still and aim at them, opening you up for possibly being attacked if you're not fast enough. It really does make the game a little tense as you're trying to take something down that's coming at you, but in order to attack it, you need to stand in a single spot and slowly aim at it, allowing it to get closer to you in the process. And mixed with the soundtrack and sound design, the game does get a really good horror vibe, even though its horror elements are more in the background. It's the creepy atmosphere the decrepit park gives that makes it feel like anything could happen at any point in time that keeps you on edge, especially when there's little traps scattered throughout the map that you can set off without noticing them, like bear traps scattered around that will break the low volume soundtrack of the game with a loud just enough to startle and make you jump a little bit when it comes out of nowhere, especially when you're trying to creep around a new area already not knowing what's going to happen next. At least that's the effect it had on me. But at the same time, I could get scared by the sound of an echo from my own voice in an empty room. So for veteran horror game fans, this one probably won't be anything that will even get you to blink. Overall, the horror aspect of this game is mostly in the atmosphere, with the bigger emphasis being on the puzzles you need to solve. And these puzzles get pretty complex, with clues and hints to solve the puzzles being scattered around the entire map. I love puzzle games, and I find them incredibly fun, but boy did this game make me feel stupid at times. Some of these puzzles are so crazily specific on how to solve them, requiring you to remember sequences of numbers, or remembering names off a list in order to solve for the order of performing tasks. After about 30 minutes of this game, I started taking notes, like actually writing down every little number, name, occurrence, or hint the game gave me in order to be able to refer back to it, which I know that I will find again someday years down the road and question what kind of insanity I was going through. And I'll question what in the world possessed me to write down mermaid, wolf, cyclops, snake, or a math problem resolving itself with mermaid equals 1, dolphin equals 2, boat equals 4, and shark equals 8 being circled. These aren't just random things either. These are actual notes I'm looking at that I took while playing this game. And if you plan to play this game in the future, be ready to start going down the same path of madness, writing down every year, name, or item you come across. But solving these puzzles is very fulfilling when you get through them. But I have to admit, there were still some puzzles that I had to refer to the internet to solve after circling around the map multiple times trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next. But if you don't want to go that route, there are some hint machines scattered around the game that can give you a hint on what to do next, like suggesting where you should go or where an item you have could be used, which is helpful, but in my case was still too broad of a clue to really help me figure out what I was supposed to be doing sometimes. But that's part of the appeal of a game like this, where you actually have to think to use everything the game gives you to figure it out. And the game does lay out all the information you need and give it to you in a way that it can be solved. Even the cases of having to look up the answer to figure it out, I would go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I should have known that. And the solutions to puzzles never felt detached from the clues the games would give you. With every room having its own puzzles, secrets, and items to collect, the map is very well utilized and small enough that running around to the different areas of the park doesn't feel exhausting. But it can be a little annoying dealing with the monsters scattered around the map, Whenever you leave an area and come back, everything that was there before respawns. And with the limited ammo you have, I mostly tried my best to run past most of the monsters you come across. Which wasn't always a bad thing, but there were times I would get trapped while trying to run around and end up dying. And I had to hope that the game had saved recently, because the game does not have any automatic saves. Which does add a little bit more tension when coming across a monster and knowing you're already low on health and without any more health items. But it does get a little frustrating trying to run around monsters to solve a puzzle for the third time because you keep running out of the limited ammo and dying. Which, after happening a couple times, it does feel like less of a challenge to overcome and starts getting annoying. Where the game then becomes more of a mission to run around the park to scavenge ammo from trash cans and vending machines. So you can go back to the puzzles you already have the answers to, so you can solve them again and finally continue playing the game. Which, thank God for the notes that I would take on the solutions to some of these puzzles. Because at one point, I realized I hadn't saved for the last hour I was playing and ended up losing all of that progress. And I had to scramble to figure out where I was in the game when I last saved, and proceeded to speed run through the puzzles again using my handy dandy notepad to catch back up to where I was before I had died. If I didn't have those notes and the mysterious story didn't have me so captivated, I probably would have rage quit the game right then and there. But the story and mystery of this game is fantastic, and I don't think any amount of annoyance or hindrance would have kept me from seeing this story through. The story slowly drip feeds you information between the puzzles with journal entries, newspaper articles, and interactions with people at the park, giving you just enough to piece together the timing events that led to the park's current state and how everything got that way. It kept me captivated throughout the game and watching for any papers laying around the rooms to read for more information, creating a game experience where I was scavenging the entire map for everything I could, and making for a great experience between the gameplay, atmosphere, and story. Overall, I give Crow Country a 4.5 out of 5. When I first saw that this game was inspired by the early PlayStation era of horror games, it instantly got my attention as a fan of those style of games. With that iconic blocky look, the art and designs in this game really do capture what those games felt like back then. Add to this the great puzzles and story, and you have a game that I absolutely had a blast playing. I also got caught up in the eerie soundtrack, the creepy, decrepit look of the park, and the sound design that made this a pretty tense game at times. I'm not big into horror games, but this is one I had a lot of fun with, and I would highly recommend people who enjoyed the games like the original Resident Evil and Silent Hill to check it out. For the game having such a focus on the mystery and puzzles it presents you with, it does get annoying when you get killed by something and have to go back to wherever you last remembered to save, but it's a small gripe overall with the game. It makes me realize how reliant I've become on the autosave structure of games today. But there is a game mode where you can explore and solve puzzles without the enemies for those who want that experience. But I honestly feel like it would be missing a lot of the tension that makes this game so great if you were playing that mode. Especially when at the end of the game, it gives you a nice little scorecard, rating you on how many healing items you used, how many hints you needed, and how many of the secrets you found. So it does give some replayability for people looking to get that S rank and find everything this game has to offer. But those are my thoughts on Crow Country, and I'm curious to know what you all think of the game. Did you play it or intend to? If you played it, do you agree with me, or did you have an entirely different experience? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this review and want to see more, click that like button and don't forget to subscribe. If you have suggestions for other games you think we should play, let us know as well. Until next time, this has been Brad with the Bickering Nerds.